Representative, welcome to the program here. First time you and I spoke, most recently, it was right after the presidential debate, and you were one of the rare Democrats that came out and said, we've got to replace Joe Biden on the ballot. You were excoriated for that position.
I was. In fact, I was told that I would be primaried. I was a Dino, a Democratic name only.
Democrats told you all this?
Yes, that I should be stripped of my delegate status, that I should not show up at the convention, that I was not loyal to the party and the president. That's what I was told.
What's your reaction now?
Well, I think that the proof is in the pudding. We see record fundraising, we see record enthusiasm, there's optimism, there's energy, it's electrifying. So I feel validated, I feel vindicated. I feel a lot of those same people, they didn't say, hey, I'm sorry, but they did say, I'm glad that she's the nominee. You know, so I think that most people, with the rare exception, maybe some of the Biden family, but for the most part, people are excited. People are so happy and joyous. We've seen long lines to get into the United Center. We've seen people on waiting lists for for credentials to get into the United Center. That didn't happen when President Biden was our official nominee. There was a lack of enthusiasm. There was a almost certainty that we were going to lose to former President Trump.
I don't remember this even for 2016 for Hillary Clinton. I would say this goes back to 2008 is the last time this type of energy existed in the Democratic Party.
No, you must have been listening to a conversation I had just last night at the convention center when President Obama spoke, and it was so electrifying. I said, I haven't seen this energy since he was on the ballot. That is when we saw hope and change, and yes, we can. I have not seen it since then. This is the most electrifying I've seen it since 2008.
The challenge for Democrats is going to be taking this energy and enthusiasm in Chicago and taking it back to Texas to try to get the vote out. How challenging is that going to be? Because your constituents, majority Texans, aren't in Chicago. They aren't seeing this, they aren't feeling this, and aren't experiencing this.
You're absolutely right. That's the job of the delegates, elected officials, and our precinct chairs and Democrat enthusiasts, is to take that message back to the masses, to the low propensity voters, to people who are working their jobs and just trying to pay their bills, making ends meet, that aren't even thinking about the election. Our job is to take the message to them on the critical importance of this election. So yes, it's going to be a challenge, but I think we're up to that challenge. A lot of people are tuning in to the coverage of the DNC, but it's going to have to be word of mouth, talking to neighbors, talking to family members, talking to coworkers about what's at stake. We have a unique chance in this state to turn Texas blue. We have a chance to get Colin Allred as the next United States Senator to defeat Cancun Cruz. And I'm very optimistic. It's not going to be easy. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, oh yes, we're about to turn Texas blue. But I do think that it's plausible. The demographics are there. There are more African Americans in Texas than any other state. Kamala Harris is an X factor that I think is going to be very pivotal in helping flip some seats that we need in the Texas House.
But we've heard this for years about turning Texas blue, and
Yeah.
it's gotten closer
Right.
in the presidential races.
Right.
How close do you think it's going to be this year? The Beto effect is not going to be on the ticket.
That's true. We don't have the Beto effect.
Or the Trump effect in the sense of 2020
Right.
immediately afterwards.
Well, here's what I do think we have. We have a very dynamic candidate for president in Kamala Harris, and Governor Walz is her nominee. I think that they are going to bring out so many of the base voters that we need. And in fact, I've talked to a lot of young voters that have been absent since Obama was on the ticket. They are going to come back. That is the difference maker right there. It's those Gen X, those millennials. Those are the voters that have stayed home. They have largely been absent. They didn't come out for Hillary Clinton. They barely came out for President Biden. But I do believe that many of those young people, I've seen them at the convention, they are ready to go to the ballot to cast their votes. Because one of the things that we didn't have last time was women's reproductive rights. That is on the ballot. That is such a pivotal issue to a lot of our younger generation.
Let me ask you about that. The biggest issue for Republicans is border security. The biggest issue for Democrats seems to me to be access to abortion.
Absolutely.
How pivotal will that be, do you think, in getting people to turn out?
I think that it's going to be very pivotal. And also, I believe there are a lot of moderates and a lot of independents that are say, hey, they're not, so I'm just going to vote straight ticket. I do think a lot of those are going to be voters that are going to vote their values. They're going to vote Democrat because Cruz has been very, very much against women's reproductive rights, even against a woman having a exception for rape or incest to get an abortion. So I think he's so extreme to the far right. Then you have Project 2025. That is firing up our base right there. And so I believe that when Texas, we've already seen the anti-DEI, a lot of those young students, we've seen a lot of protesters that are upset about the Palestinian conflict. A lot of people are very fired up. There's a lot of issues that are motivating people to go to the polls, and I do think that's going to be a difference maker. I think it's going to be close. It's hard to say where it's going to go, but I'm putting my money, I'm betting on blue.
One of the things I've noticed is that Democrats love the energy and enthusiasm that's going on right now inside the party, but there are still some Democrats that are running away from Kamala Harris. How's that going to pan out? What does that mean for down-ballot races like yours and so many others across the state?
Well, here's the thing. As someone who's chair of the Texas Legislative Black Caucus, I can tell you that our community, the African-American community, is fired up. You know, the vice president went to a historically black college and university that's known as HBCU. She's in a sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha. The enthusiasm I've seen for those groups is electrifying. And so I do believe that down ballot is going to help those candidates, particularly in the urban centers, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio. I believe that there are going to be Democrat pickup opportunities that we're going to see. I don't know how much it plays out in the rural areas, but I do believe in the urban centers, they're going to run up the score to give Texas a chance to turn blue. Now, I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but I do believe that Texas is in play. Texas is one of the states.
You think Texas is in play?
Texas is one of the states. It's not in the first tier where you're talking about Arizona and
not a battleground.
No, not a battleground, but it's in the second tier. When I'm talking to the party activists, I've talked to DNC Chair Jamie Harrison.
What are they saying?
They're saying yes, we're looking at Texas. So they're not saying yes, we need Texas to win, but they see Texas as an opportunity, particularly with the Senate and the balance of power being so close. They are putting enormous resources in Colin Albert's race for U.S. Senate.
Political conventions, as you well know, are splashy political productions. But once you remove the script, once you remove all the lights and the glitz and the glamour and things like that, it comes down to a candidate versus a candidate. What's going to be the deciding factor in this? Some people are saying the debate is going to be one of those places where voters can see each of these people side by side.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited to see this debate. The last debate, as you know, I was very candid and transparent. It was awful for Democrats. Joe Biden did not deliver. Even though former President Trump lied over and over again, President Biden was not able to call it out succinctly. But I do believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is going to be able to prosecute the case. She's going to be able to take the focus on Trump and his failed policies, Project 2025, 34 felony convictions, and so much more. So I do believe it's going to be a contrast, women's reproductive rights, climate, access to affordable health care, raising the minimum wage. There's going to be so many issues that contrast with the MAGA extremist policy of former President Trump that I think people are going to see a clear contrast between the two. I think that the American people are going to say, we want someone that believes in common sense gun reform. We want someone that believes in a woman's right to choose, that believe that people should have access to quality, affordable health care, that climate change is real. So those are the things that I think you're going to see a contrast with Trump and his MAGA extreme policies.
2.5 months to go before the election. What concerns you?
Well, what concerns me right now is that we have a former president that is stoking a lot of fear, that he is catering to, to white supremacists. This Project 2025 is very frightening to us. It should be for all people. They want to eliminate the Department of Education. They want to ban diversity, equity, and inclusion.
But Republicans have wanted to kill the Department of Education for years and years.
Well, they want to bring vouchers, and that's hidden right here at home in Texas. We will likely be dealing with that in the 89th legislative session. So with a President Trump, it makes it all but certain that it's going to happen. So those are the things that concern me. I care about our public schools. I care about our teachers. I care about our climate. I care about access to quality, affordable health care. He wants to repeal Obamacare. He wants to cut Social Security benefits. That's our safety net. He wants to attack the minimum wage and only cater to the very extreme wealthy, top 3%. That's what concerns me.
Are there any pitfalls in the road ahead for Kamala Harris over the next 2.5 months?
Well, this is going to be a very tough race. I think there's still some people, quite candidly speaking, that are very concerned that a woman can be the president. I think that we're ready to break that glass ceiling. There are others who are saying maybe she has a double negative because she's an African-American, Indian, and female. I think that we're going to have to break that cycle. And so that's a challenge that she's going to have to overcome. And I hope that the American people are ready to embrace that diversity, gender and ethnic. I think Obama, he broke glass ceilings in terms of the race. And I think it's far time. We've seen Shirley Chisholm, we've seen Geraldine Ferraro, and we've seen Hillary Clinton. I think they say the fourth time's the charm.
Representative, thank you for the time.
Thank you.